Hi everyone, it's Zoreen from Yahoo Esports. Joining me over Skype today is fighting game, how do I even describe you? Z. You are one of a kind. How are you doing, man?
I actually am not one of a kind. I thought I was the only one with a name that starts with Z, but I have met my greater half. And I think one day if we meet up, we have to duel to the death because only one can survive.
Definitely, I agree. That's look out for that video coming to Yahoo Esports. Oh, so you were here talking to us about Street Fighter today. I've seen you've been very busy hosting Turner E-League's Street Fighter V Invitational. How has that experience been going so far?
So I thought I was on top of the world, obviously working on E-League and bringing Street Fighter to the masses has been, like sort of the Lord's calling for me at this point in my life. And then I peeped your feed, and you're like kicking it with BTS, and I realized that I'm not really doing anything spectacular in my life. So it went from super high, and then I just got super depressed. Unless, of course, you're auditioning me for the 8th member? I don't know.
It's the 8th. We ran into a short technical difficulty, and now we're continuing the interview. Z's actually teleported because he's very masterful at teleportation. Z, as we were chatting about just now, I did ask you, did you ever feel like, or have you ever felt like that you've had a moment where you're like, I've made it?
I certainly thought that I had made it. E-League, because it relies on the resources of Turner Studios, which has produced like many famous shows in its lifetime, we, the talent, have not seen this level of production, and that's combined with Southern hospitality in Atlanta. So it's really the best of both worlds. A lot of years of unpaid sacrifice and indentured commentary, slavery, and esports servitude really paved the way to get to where we are now. And it feels really good to finally be, put on a grand stage. But of course, with that comes a heavy burden and a huge responsibility to make Street Fighter accessible to an audience, which may very well be seeing Street Fighter for the very first time, or at least the first time in 20 years.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about this direction that the FGC has taken in the last year or two?
I don't think that anything you or I say on this show can change the trajectory of where the fighting games community is going, because it's just become a gigantic snowball rolling downhill. And whether we like it or not, a lot of non-endemic sponsors has eyes on our community and the difficult demographic that we represent, right? It's very difficult to reach our core demographic, 18 to 35, male, cutting a lot of cords, and you have to really go deep dive into these subcultures to really reach us. And now they're really seeing the value in that. And, I don't think that we can avoid this attention. I hope not.
Mm-hmm. So given that you're now, you've been on broadcast on Turner, how do you feel like your life has changed, if at all?
So when you look at the Turner production for E-League, there's a lot of glitz and there's a lot of glamour. They've got $100,000, cameras zooming in on every pore of your body and the whiteheads and whatnot. But that all belies the very little change in lifestyle. Still flying economy. I fear every time they're going to reaccommodate me if they overbook and they're like, we need to make some room. And they just pick out the Asian guy sitting down there. So I'm always bracing. But we're still doing the same thing that we've always been doing, only fine-tuning it. But the lifestyle certainly has not changed. In fact, the good thing about E-League is that it's sort of centered around grassroots tournaments. So you can see that they've made room for an NCR broadcast. They didn't stomp on that date. With Combo Breaker, it's still very possible to attend both events. And that's what the beauty is of E-League. They didn't jump full throttle into esports, but they tried to really ingratiate themselves with the community in an authentic way by hiring talent that's really firmly ingrained and understands the culture and the community, rather than trample on the grass and be like, hey, we're here to take over this space.
Mm-hmm. Now I do have to ask you about your outfits. You are famously known for the way you dress and the way you present yourself. How do you put these together?
Actually, I mean, I wear this type of clothing. No, that's not true. That is not true. Uh, I think with E-League and Street Fighter, there's a lot of new sensations that a viewer is seeing. If you compare it to a lot of other major esports titles, there's a lot more homogenization of the presentation. Like, for example, if it's CS:GO, it's probably a predominantly Caucasian, affair. If you're watching like the Korean LOL League or like OGN, it's all going to be like Koreans. But with the E League, if you look at the cast members and also the players as well, we have like the entire spectrum of people from every different shape, size, and color, and what have you. And I think it's important to, because we only have a few seconds to grab that non-endemic audience and capture their attention, you really have to put on a good show at every moment. It has to be punctuated with something that is as meaningful, because I think we'll always have the Street Fighter community and the support of the fighting game community, but how is it that I'm going to be able to convert someone that is expecting baseball on, Turner or a basketball game and happens to see us? You have, very few milliseconds to convert that type of user. And so we're always thinking about how to, make a good show and be interesting. And hopefully our conversion ratio is, 0.001%. But if we can get those new fans that have never been there, then I think we're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. And how long does it take you to put one of these together? Is it like a night before you kind of just look at your wardrobe and pull a shirt out, or is it like a crafted process?
No, and I think you understand this as well. You have nice clothes, like button downs, and you don't get to wear them when you're working in tech, right? It's always like t-shirt and jeans, and when you want to dress up, then you look a bit, presumptuous. People think that you're very pompous. They're like, "Oh, where are you going tonight?" And I'm like, "No, I just wanted to wear like a button-down shirt." And now we finally get the opportunity to dress up, but very few opportunities. I think you understand this too. In esports, everything and everyone is very casual.
And speaking of casual and maybe some streetwear, you are the host of Fresh Stock, a show on Twitch which focuses on the sneaker subculture. If I told you you had to give up either fighting games or sneakers, which one would you choose?
Wow. Dang. Is this an interview or an inquisition? I like to follow, if I just had to make a big bet on the future, I think that street culture is much more relatable to a broader audience, but the potential of fighting games, I think, to reach the mass audience is going to pay big dividends. And I think that's why you see a lot of people sticking with this whole grassroots movement, despite it, perhaps not turning a profit. A lot of people, this community was built on the volunteer and the hard sweat and, tears of a lot of people that came before us. But it's there. I think we're just, we always say this, another perhaps Evo Moment 37 away from going truly supernova. And you've seen it happen with other subcultures, and you wait and turn. When is fighting games going to turn mainstream? I think it's a matter of time.
Mm-hmm. So what's your answer then?
I tried to dodge that one.
You can't dodge me, Z.
The thing I like about fighting games, and I'm not trying to be like, the thing I like about fighting games is that we can still retain our DNA. And if you look at some of our major broadcasts, let's put E-League aside for a moment. You'll have people commenting in their regular streetwear. And so you don't have sort of ceremonious attire of, the league or a CSGO broadcast, which is a bit more formal. And I like that. I like that we stay to our roots, because there is tremendous value in the grime and the grit. And people shy away from it. We're like, oh, no, we need to clean up. We can't have, Yipes talking with all his, analogies. We can't have Z like flying off and saying like trash on the microphone. And yes, we do need to cut back in some degree, but that color that we add, that we're on that wavelength of the layman, the street, right? Because we came from very humble beginnings. It came from the supermarkets or the washing, the laundrette, where you put in like $25. So if you look at, I think if you were to do a study of like our socioeconomic backgrounds, you'll find that people that play fighting games perhaps aren't as well off as a PC community, which has a much higher buy-in that you have to buy, you know, high-end PC monitor and the games and whatnot. Like our hurdle to get into this is much lower, and you see a lot more of that reflected in the way that we talk and the way that we carry ourselves. Mm-hmm. So in an ideal world, we can do both, and I will ensure with every fiber in my body that we never stray too far away from our roots. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, just, oh, we have to wear suits now because we're going esports. No, like that's not what we wear. That's not what we wore in the arcades. That would be very unnatural.
Okay, so basically you can't choose. The two things are so integrated together.
And that's the beauty. I think that's the potential too. And a lot of sponsors will pick up on that. They're like, wait a minute, these guys are doing something a little different. They're a bit more unpolished. Mm-hmm. And that is not only something that should be celebrated, but something that is incredibly valuable.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Z, and best of luck with the rest of E-League. For more Street Fighter V coverage, be sure to check out Yahoo Esports.